All right, everyone. Today we have a pretty special episode of Bobby and Jens. We are profiling the dominant domestic UK team, St. Perrin, and there we interviewed their general manager, Richard Pascoe. This interview was so interesting from so many different perspectives. First of all, the team has no title sponsor, which is a very interesting model, and they're not scared to do things differently. Most of all, Jens, they have the biggest race of their calendar coming up, the Tour of Britain. What did you think about today's talk with Richard?
He is ready, and I love the fresh and different approach he had. And I think they will bring the race to everyone who wants it or who doesn't want a race, but they will definitely be an active part of the race. And I love that. The team is ready. So I think he can't wait for the days to pass to get it started. The biggest race of the year for his team.
He had so many interesting things to say, including his idea on a net zero team, which, we know there is a lot of emissions, the big carbon footprint around the world of cycling, but his ideas were very interesting. And as you're going to hear here pretty soon, not so simple and not so cheap. So please stick around, sit back, relax, and listen to this episode of Bobby and Jens with Richard Pascoe. All right, everyone, we have the Tour of Britain right around the corner. And today, as our guest, we have Richard Pascoe from Team St. Perrin, who's going to be competing in the Tour of Britain. And Richard, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you very much, guys.
Well, there's a big race on your guys' horizon, and just kind of interested in seeing how you're going to look at the race, the goals, objectives, your build up. Just give us a little rundown of what this race means to your team.
I guess if you go back and have a look, 7 years ago, we were a club team. And if you think there aren't many club teams that rise to the ability to start riding in Pro Series events. So I don't know what your equivalent in your local town would be with you, Jens or Bobby, but it really is quite a rise for us from where we come from. So you must always remember where you come from. And we are a minnow. We're a very small fish in a big pond. And what is really unique about us, we have no advertising on our jersey either. So we're doing things in a completely different way. But the key thing about bike racing is you must always respect the bike race. And I'm a bike fan, and I really went to pieces a minute ago because I don't have Jens' signature. I'm quite well known for keeping memorabilia, and I think you need to respect the sport history, but also be aware of where you are now. And for us, the Tour of Britain, yes, it's the biggest race for us in the calendar. Whilst they say they put your riders in the shop window, we actually want to try and race these races rather than have some traditional thought around, well, it's going to ride or a breakaway and maybe win a jersey. We have ambitions around racing that is, you'd almost say it's like our esprit de corps, is how we feel. And certainly the young riders we got, are racing well, and we develop year on year on year on year on year. We're ranked the UK's premier team within the UK. There is Trinity, who do a really great job, and Andrew McQuaid's got a really interesting model there in terms of how, he brings his team to the table. But for us, certainly Bobby, it's the biggest race on the calendar. We spent all season effectively riding 0.2s, 0.1 pros, and a couple of Pro Series races just to get ready.
So talking ready, I believe your team is selected and ready. How long before the actual race Tour of Britain starts did your riders know that they are in or maybe not in the team for the Tour of Britain?
So what's very interesting about us as a team as well, Jens, is that we try, and this isn't a team over giving you a bit of PR, right? We try and put the riders first, okay? We try to help our in-house, so we have a lot of in-house coaching, and we've got world-class coaches as well. We're very lucky, and those of you that are quite clever, they'll notice there's quite a few Team GB riders, which is coming into our team. So we've had it on our calendar. It's a very important race. The riders more or less at our level select themselves. I don't know the equivalent in the expression you would have, but cream floats to the top. We've certainly got 6 or 8 riders that have the capacity to ride the race. There'll probably be 1 or 2 that are disappointed, but I think the rest of the riders are realistic to their ability. So, all year we're having dialogues with them. We're always having reviews. And what we really need to create, if you haven't got the horsepower, compared to the World Tour teams, you've got to have desire. You've got to have quite a clever racing brain around that, and grab as a minnow, we've got to grab our opportunities. But as you probably saw last year, we created quite an interesting story in the Tour of Britain. I don't know if you guys saw the stage where we actually put a rider in the break, and obviously the World Tour team, they determined everything, and the gap had been extended, and then we slowed the breakdown. We actually slowed the break, pushing the World Tour team guys further back, so we wouldn't burn the energy of our riders in that break. And when it was suitably ready, when we turned and got close to the finish, we could hold off, the big engine. So, to answer your question, Jens, we've known about the race for a long time. The riders are on the best program that we can give them. We have no big sponsor or a big benefactor that pays for us to do what we do. So we do everything within our capability, but with this race in mind.
Well, let's just put you at ease. We were all minnows at one time or another. I know I was a minnow. Jens, I'm sure you were a minnow. When we got that opportunity, for me, this is going way back. I was 18 years old, and I got called up to the second ever Tour de Trump. Now it turned into Tour de Pont after that. And I remember what it was like saying, Sean, I got on the bus at the airport, and Sean Kelly was there. And he gets on the bus, and, they're handing out sandwiches and little bottles of water, snacks, if you will. And of course, I grab it and start woofing it down. And then Sean Kelly goes to basically the whole bus, and I could hear it as I had my sandwich in my mouth. He goes, "No train, no eat." And I was like, wanted to spit it out. But it was an amazing experience. And you're right. You're minnows, but minnows have to find the way to turn into a shark. So do you believe your team is mentally ready to take on that challenge, to take on Wout van Aert and riders of that stature?
Yes, they are very ready. It seems strange talking about it beforehand because, we grow in our expectation, every year. And, Tour of Norway, we did great this year. One of our young riders going head-to-head with a World Tour rider, making it across the break, not sitting on, then breaking away with, So, we've got some expectations around, our riders. And look, the system is partly broken. We spend an awful lot of money. Then the rider goes on. There's no payback. There's no sellout clause like in football. So you have to go in this as a team owner with your eyes wide open. You have to. I think the most important thing in life as well is to give every rider their event horizon in their life. So as I've got older now, I think if fifth in that stage is the best that every rider can ever get, realistically, we must give it to that rider. Because either when he retires or moves or leaves us, or if that's the best he could get and finishes the sport, that's his event horizon. So never forget where you come from. I can keep these principles because I'm not in the world where there's somebody says, "Oh, you need television coverage for a sponsor or whatever." As long as I'm in charge in the way that we are, we can afford to do the way we do. We must try and, be David, against Goliath. We must give the rider his best opportunity ever. And it's really funny. If you've got the freedom to race, and I don't know about you guys, you had less freedom to race, but if you've got the freedom to race, we're getting some very good results as a result of that culture. I always say, we've got some GB riders this year with a track focus, and GB have finished their academy program, so you can have an exclusive on that's been rescinded by British Cycling because the under 23 program now riders are going younger to World Tour, and the expense, if you like, on us as a federation that layer has been removed. But we've said, look, we want to be an example of best practice. House them with us. We'll give them a good road program, but support them on the track program. And kind of in doing this process, British Cycling said, just how come these riders are going better than we thought? And I say, well, they're not riding around in circles all the time. They're not living in a boring apartment in Manchester. They're going to see some races. We're allowing them to have a program that makes the legs go around faster, builds the volume of one another. And on top of that, I tell dad jokes. So it's pretty chilled out.
So, talking results and the riders, what would you think in your personal desire? What would make it a good or a great Tour of Great Britain for you in terms of results? What are you dreaming of, or what do you think is realistic?
So we've got 3 scales. There's what could we dream of? Myself and, Steve Lampier, he's an really solid UK pro, 3 multiple top 20s in and around Tour of Britain. So, very, very solid pro, very, very good DS. Great in and around the car. With another UK domestic rider or GB rider pro, Julian Winners DS. We're good in and around the car. Okay. We were talking today, what can we get from the race? So we look at a race and say, right, this is the dreaming element. And the dreaming element is always there. That's the romance of our sport. There's always that odd, what would you say, guys, 1%, 2% where it doesn't go to the norm. I guess if you go back a few years, it was 5%. If you go back even further, that percentage was probably larger, wasn't it? That 15% of a chance was there because the break to go or whatever. So we looked at what is wonderful dream for us. You guys are clever racers. We've got to get that rider that's got enough capacity to get a few minutes in a break. The other riders fall by the wayside in the next few stages, and then, they don't get dropped in the rest of the race. That's our best mode. We're going to race the race. Minnows on a continental license, they're normally allowed to win a jersey, or one another. We want to teach these young lads to race bikes. We want them to leave us if they've got the capacity and go on to World Tour teams. We have one rider doing that already, and I'm fighting against rumours, and I'm trying to make maximum currency on that with the World Tour team. And maybe strategic planning wise, guys, that's the best for us in the UK is to align with the World Tour team. The best structure, I believe, for us in the UK is maximum 3 Conti teams in the UK, no more. I don't know what you'd say in Germany, Jens, but maybe 4 or 5, maybe. I don't know what the system would support, but three Conti teams, 1 pro Conti team, or miss that out completely. Those 3 be the World Tour team. That's the best structure for our young riders in this country, I believe. We want to be in the mix. We want to be an example of best practice. So not just in and around our riders, we actually provide 24/7 mental health care for all our riders and staff. Unique. We are doing a road to net zero. We're not just talking about, the future of our planet, but I got to hold my hand up. I am poacher turned gatekeeper, 58 with a 3-year-old, but I've suddenly become aware that my son might not have a planet to grow up in. So for us, it's really important. It's really nice that you said Sam Brown. I love that. Would say, no sponsors. It is the patron saint of our region, Cornwall. And interestingly, we have no Cornish riders. And it's the patron saint of tin mining. But I want our plain jersey with a little bit of tartan to represent some good things that are still left in the sport. That romantic thing that you guys had when you were 14, riding, the sun was coming up and you were on that alpine climb and dreaming about the good things about our sport. We want to hold on to that because world sport is brutal. It's really hard, very realistic. It's a wonderful ecosystem. And do you know what? Cycling is such a cruel mistress sometimes. It can give you a lot of pleasure, but by God, you pay for it.
Yeah, one moment you're on top of the heap, and the next moment you're in the crap pile. No doubt about it. But you said you have mental health help there at the team. You know, for me, being as young as I was when I did the Tour de Trump and did the Tour de Pont against the idols, my idols, Johnny Buño, Greg LeMond, Phil Anderson,
Wow.
Andy Hampston, Raul Alcala, Eric Breukink, there was a intimidation factor there that affected my confidence. So confidence is everything in the sport, especially the sport of cycling. Have has your mental health carers focused a little bit on really stressing confidence during this? Because without being confident in this sport, you're just packville. And if you're scared, you're going to have a hard time.
So for us, listen, I can bring the experience of life to the table. 14 years ago in my life, I had a complete breakdown. Some people are in therapy all their life, some come out very well to come out of it. I had a lot of great care and a good family. So I know what it's like to be broken. And I remember I was a really good sort of chess player, did chess, gave it up, thought I failed. Did ball sports, took up cycling, was a mediocre cyclist at best, never saw the front of a race, but I had 5 great years, but thought I failed. So I get that whole reward expectation failure thing. And it's getting worse at the moment because, the conversion rate is so small. So we have to dash a lot of hopes, okay? So we have a responsibility to be realistic about rewards and expectations. Very strong on that. Our mental health, which is a DEA, is really, really good because they are literally on hand, and it's for professional career development and also for issues around confidence or whatever. So we do not get involved in that process. That must be a standalone independent process. So we provide that. The culture with the team is straightforward. In order to build confidence around the team, I start right at the very top. If a rider says really struggling with, well, Van Aert is riding, and I'll probably say, oh, and it's, I normally say, nobody's died, nobody's got cancer, stop stressing, you're riding a bike, it's a privilege, live in the moment. So try and bring the culture we try and set up is one of fun. The culture is one of, look, 2 legs, our lungs, trouble is you guys are exceptional. There are, look, there's riders with big minerals, right? They've got the minerals, and some of ours actually got the minerals and they need developing, but we say it's a journey. But what is crucial with our mental health care, it's there. And we do have staff and riders that use it. But we don't know when they use it. We've got no idea. Sometimes a rider will come back and go, I had a few sessions and I feel great now. We just go, that's brilliant. So we're very proud, Bobby, that we actually, give that. We don't just talk about it. It's, and look, team owners, they'll spend money on an extra race or extra equipment or whatever. No, what we spent our time doing is infrastructure, 12 vehicles, websites are great. It's kind of, we want people to be part of our ecosystem, as I call it. We're all bike fans, and we just want to be a small team with a big heart and just keep racing that way. Because the minute you try and play thinking you're Ineos, you've lost. Because that's a £50 million a year animal, with everything that goes with it. So we got to respect where we are and give these young lads, we do have a women's team and we have a mountain bike team, and, we've got to give them that opportunity with full confidence. Good question.
So, exploring a little bit more about that, would you then agree that that old saying that only in a healthy body lives a healthy mind, that's also part of your strategy, no? I mean, keeping the kids physically fit, but also in your ecosystem, it sounds like you are close to each other, right? That you trust each other, that you work together more like a family than just basically numbers and money-based pro sport.
I think you're right, because we don't have any other currency other than that, do we? You guys tell me about world pro sport. I mean, I've mentored, gold medalists and world champions, but on the outside, and I've seen, look, the only thing we got to make ourselves different is that culture of, being fun. I turned up to wherever I am, and I'll arrive with some cider or beers or brownies. You know, I'll walk on a team bus, a World Tour team bus, and go, there you go, guys, there's some brownies, and walk away again. Because we're all equal. You've got to remember, we're all equal people, you know, and it's just a simpler way. It's not, I'm not saying it's the way it should be, but it's our way. And I guess because I'm a dad now, you know, I've done two good things in my life. Yeah, I mentored some really good cyclists, and I got a 3-year-old. And those are the two things I've done. And when, you know, I don't know how you got 6. You've got to start watching television, mate. Oh, my goodness me. But no wonder you got to keep working, right? But we have a responsibility. You know, I'm not romantic. We are in the bottom layer of the serious business of cycling. And so many teams come and go. We're going to be around for the next 4 or 5 years. But, you know, we're not going to do it. We're not going to sign a rider on the hope that we win this race and that brings sponsors. We're not going to do any of the things that we've seen up to now around it, providing we can keep affording it, make it sustainable. We literally have an old lady who will live 20 miles from where I am now, give us £5 for the year, you know, and we take that, you know, we want you guys. I mean, we work on subscriptions, we work on different revenue things. You know, we want to represent you guys, you represent us. And what's cool about the team, you've got open access to it. And you've got honest answers as well. I can either afford a great kit, good program, no salary. Nobody says this. You know, everybody pretend I can do 2 out of 3, because all we are is a family. Myself, my fiance, my little boy, and then we've got everybody else putting into this ecosystem. We've got people giving up their sweat equity. We've got riders going, God, this is quite cool, actually. What, you're doing this? You know, we become friends with race organisers. We want the media, because when the sport is beautiful, it's beautiful. And we want to try and keep away from some of the, not the ugly side of the sport, but some of the ways that things are done. We, you know, the way it comes across with our riders. Look at any interview that they do. We don't script it. They go, this is amazing. I'm really loving it. We have a national series in the UK, the national races. So far this year, in the first race, we did 1, 2, 3. The second race, we did 1, 2, 3. Unprecedented and never done in 100 years. These are 140 UK elite athletes and teams. We did that. And then just this weekend, we had 6 starters in it. We did 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And then they say it's, oh, there's not the level of competition or whatever. The race has been run off at a faster speed than it ever has done in the last 20 years in the UK. But all we're doing, on Tuesday, the guys were riding against World Tour riders, Tour of Leuven. You know, you got Campenarts and all the rest of it. And they were in the mix at the final bit, you know, and these young guys have got to go there and learn to race. And we can only win with heart and mind, Jens, you're right. That's the only currency we've got, you know, and I don't want it to change. You know, it will change if somebody gives me £45 million for a logo. And then we'll have a go at the Tour de France for 2 years. We'll buy it all in. I'll sit and drink coffee. Somebody else can do it. And, you know, maybe that's the dream.
I am quite intrigued because I did work for Sky. I saw the level of organization. We all know that they have a good budget. Now they're Ineos. But at the beginning, Rod Ellingworth had the Academy program, and you sound very similar to the Academy program, where it was teaching the boys the basics, the life skills, the building blocks. I don't think they were paid to be on that Academy. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But it produced some amazing athletes, some amazing guys that are still in the sport. I mean, Geraint Thomas is still at the top of his game. Mark Cavendish, same thing. I mean, he came out of that kind of unpampered lifestyle. But I just have a hard time getting my head around the fact that you have a men's road team, a women's road team, and a mountain bike team, yet you have no title sponsor. I know it sounds like you just kind of mentioned it, that there's maybe some kind of fan fundraising, but this is not a cheap sport. I mean, go into a bike shop and just try to buy a water bottle or a tire these days, and you can see how expensive it is. So you say that you don't pay your riders and you give them a good structure, a good program, and a good kit, but that still costs money. How do you survive? How does this team function?
So the first thing is resonance. We resonate with a lot of people. Okay. Look, I've been involved in the bike industry for a long time, so our opportunity cost is less because you've got some knowledge. But we resonate with people. So what we try and do, so we say, so St. Piran now, there is some licensing that goes on. There's St. Piran coffee and ice cream and whatever. So let's do corporate speak. Hi, Bobby. Hi, Jens. I'm going to spend theoretically £1 million advertising your brand next year. Give us a small amount of money. So what we do is we say, St. Piran will represent you. So it's a nice, we haven't got 27 sponsors. So I can work with podcasts. I can work with travel people. I can work with anybody to say, look, what are your problems? I mean, what are your problems? We'll give you some visibility. We'll give you some great content. We've got parity in the sport, road to net zero, sustainability, and we're doing it. So we've got a good story. And it resonates with people. And we also organise events at grassroots. So we put a structure in grassroots to elite that includes everybody. And that's our job to say, anybody in the ecosystem, what would you like to do with us? Or what can we do for you? Okay. And this might sound, a little bit new. My original model, when we were growing it, was, and there's a lot of things around the figures around running the Conti team, and you guys, you can probably write down on a piece of paper, hold them up, and we'll all be pretty close, within, I don't know, $25,000 or pounds or whatever, euros or whatever, we'll be there or thereabouts. My original idea, 50 people giving us 5,000 of benefit somewhere, or money or resource, could probably get us on the road. And it's only happened this year because we've had so many eyes on us. So we've been lucky to have some software called Brandwatch that looked at us, and Brandwatch told us that 180 million people over 2 years had seen us. And we're going, wow. And it's because the people that are keen on the bikes, they say, wait a minute, St. Piran or St. Piran, no advertising, and the riding, it's clicking on and they're looking, and we're kind of a disruptive niche marketing brand. And then people said, I want to help these guys because you know what? They're doing everything that they say on the tin. And this year we're highly credible on the road. There's so many stories about, we're here to let riders go on or whatever. There's so many things wrong with our sport. The beauty of it is a free-to-watch sport. We don't get paid. You covered all of this in lots of other ways. But what we try and embody or get people involved with, Bobby and Jens, is we want the fan or the engagement or the people to become involved with us. And it's very easy for us to say, work with us and we'll work with you. So we want to work with governing bodies, race organisers, other teams. We're very clever at trying to source and do things for other teams. And I've got to be very careful. We might cut it out later, but I've actually formed a collective with other team owners at Conti level. You can imagine that being difficult with the UCI, because if you're working collaboratively to reduce your costs or net zero or less vehicle use or buying better or information about riders, they're going to say, oh, aren't you collaborating on the road? So I don't know, leave it in there, see what comes. Just innovative ideas about how we can change it. And again, I don't know how much, I would be really interested with you guys. How often did you have a logo on your jersey? Is true, your team manager said, I want you to go up the road for 2 hours today for TV exposure. Was that ever really said to you?
I'll jump in and say no. TV exposure was secondary. The result was what mattered. I don't know, Jens, early on in your career, was there anyone that told you to do that just for the TV exposure?
In the year 97, actually, when I was in a smaller team, this would be probably in today's world, it would be a pro Conti team. It was half Australian, half from Czech Republic. There, yes. At some races, they told us, we want to be on TV. We know the big gun's going to get us in the end. We're not going to win, but we want to make sure we are seen to be part of the race. There were races where we were good enough to go, yes, we try to have a performance here. But in 97, yes, we had maybe 3 races in the year where they said, look, guys, we go out and show ourselves. But then I signed with a bigger team. And of course, in a bigger team, it's all about the performance, just like Bobby said. Does it make sense to you, the answer?
Yeah, we hear it a lot. Oh, it's really great for you to go and do. We won't do that. We will not. We'll not do a suicide mission. Why would we do it? It's disrespectful to the rider. Then he doesn't get a result. He's got nothing at the end of the season, so we lose our values again. So we won't get into that. Most people say, again, look, you can ride the Tour of Britain. We'd rather not go for a jersey, because really what's really important is racing the race. And we're really keen. We're really keen on that. But it's very interesting. What would you guys give as advice to a team at our level, given the knowledge?
Like, I'm blown away by your approach. Like, it is like you think outside the box, which is awesome, And you are right. If you force the rider to go on a TV break, yes, he will not get a result. He will be seen, and maybe, his parents going to be happy on TV because they saw him. But in the long term, you are right. My only advice would be, don't be shy. Don't be intimidated. As soon as everybody has a number on and the gun is shot, everybody is allowed to race. Maybe the big teams don't like to race the kilometer zero, but the race is on. It's written black and white in the rules. The race is on. And when maybe the big teams want to have a break, it is not written in stone that everybody has to follow their desires. So don't be shy. Don't let yourself get intimidated. In a fair way, of course. You don't have to yell them or push at them, right? Of course not. In a fair and sporty way, feel free to express your own racing style.
I agree 100%. And just to add a little bit more is, I don't know why, but very early on, we would do races with teams that were below us in talent and budget. And I would always kind of root for those guys, because we were all one of those guys at one time or another. And I remember in a race over here in the US, it was like we used to have the Philadelphia race series. I think it was Trenton, New Jersey. I'm coming out of the urinal there behind the start finish line, and standing in front of me is a young rider named Rashan Bahati, who we've had on our podcast before. And he was just like so excited. I'm like, man, I just came out of the urinal. Like, how you doing? It was kind of creepy. And he goes, do you have any advice for today? And I kind of forgot that I said this, but he brought it up to me and says it quite often. He goes, yeah, you don't remember what you said? And I said, oh, come on, that was quite a while ago. And he goes, you told me it's not about the pedal strokes you take, it's about the pedal strokes that you save. And I've used that my entire career, and I just wanted to thank you for saying that. So I always kind of went out of my way to give these young riders on the smaller teams their confidence, their chance, their legitimacy to be there, because I know there were some riders that did that to me back in the day. So 100%, once you put that number on, you are in the race. You race your race. There's expectations. There's, like Jens said, those unwritten rules. But man, if it's time to attack in your mind, go for it. And whatever happens, happens. But I don't think you'll regret making that attack compared to regret not making that attack and actually getting something out of the race for yourself.
I'm burning to hear your answer to this question now. With all your new ideas and your way of approaching things, how do you and your team work together and get along with the British Cycling Federation? I give you a joker. You can say next question, please. But I'm just burning to find out how they take your new and fresh approach. Is it a good cooperation with them? Or you go, you know what, just don't stay out of my business? How do I have to imagine you working together with the British cycling?
So Jens, normally when somebody looks away, you don't get a straight answer, but I give it a lot of consideration, because when somebody asks me a question now, if they've asked it, I will give a 100% straight answer. When I finished racing, I stopped when I should have carried on. I should have seen, I enjoyed the racing and did. I went into the world of business, and then the trouble with the world of business, and if you've got unfinished things, you've got to grow up as a man yourself. I probably wasn't happy in myself, and I didn't answer things honestly, because in business they go, "How's business?" You go, "Oh, it's great." Okay. "Oh no, it's not. I've got suppliers chasing me," or whatever. So you learn to lie. We all learn to lie. What starts as a small little white lie builds and builds and builds. So to answer your question, for 5 years, I started as a club team. A couple of years as a club team, then there's a status in the UK called an elite team. And we were considering then entering in our 5th year to be a Conti team, because actually the tour break was starting cool. But every 2 months, I'd written to every director at British Cycling, membership, in asset provision, performance, all the heads of whatever, an email. Say, "Yeah, we've got a journey. We'd like to have some dialogue. What we do in this journey, one thing or another." How many replies do you think I had in 5 years to my email for, "Hi guys, let's have a dialogue"?
5?
Bobby, how many do you think?
The way that you phrased it, I'm going to go with 0.
Correct.
Oh,
Keep those
no.
I did have actually, Jens, I had a couple of holding emails, I think. So on that basis, you could get angry or upset or pissed off. Wait a minute, you could say about your joint federations. You own your federation, or we do, we're members. Whenever I see a director, I go, "You're not a director. You work for me. We own you." But new regime, a guy called John Dutton's gone in, a new CEO. Dropped him a message like I always do. I'll probably hound you guys for the next 6 months until you give me one of your old shirts, or you do something for us, or maybe I'll get your listeners to subscribe just $1 a week or whatever. I dropped him a direct message. I said, "Look, we think," but by now we've become a Conti team. Respect. Within a month, I'd taken 4 of the team of people around us. We've got Steve Lampier on the road, who's fantastic. We've got Luke Humphreys at Commercial, who's fantastic. Adam Harradance, who's doing our PR. We went to Manchester and we had a 5-hour meeting around state sport, what's happening in our sport and what's basically happening. We've got a 5% conversion rate to World Tour. We're doing quite well. I think we've got 26 in the World Tour and maybe 15 at Pro Conti. So it's like an hourglass figure. The Conti scene is being squeezed, and World Tour teams are signing younger riders. So we're being squeezed. But we had a 4-hour meeting. No less about us. We went positive. What can we do for change? We'd already been working with the performance side because we took some riders that were exiting the academy last year. So we had an unwritten rule with performance. And some good people there giving us riders, but straight to the head office saying, "Let's have a conversation. What's it like to change?" So to answer your question, I think it was very poor previous, and now it's very strong. So imagine you two could walk in the ASO and the USI. Oh my God, that would be a podcast. And, we've got access to the top table, which is very important. And we've got a voice. And we're not saying it's do it our way. We're just saying this is one way that we're doing it. And I firmly believe in the UK, different in France, different in Belgium. Each country's got a different structure or way of doing things. And it's interesting, but I think if there was dialogue around the world about how countries are doing it, cycling would really take off, I think. But now, very strong working relationship. Very, very strong. To the point now that, we're going to try and, our track program is our world currency. Our federation gets money for participation and for performance. And our unwritten job at the moment is to give those guys that are on the track program a road program. And I will, at the expense of the team, give that odd percent or 1% or 2%, those track guys. And you did see, think about it, we had a world champion of Will Tidball, and Jack Rutan Gray was fourth in the amateur road race that he'd attacked 10 minutes later. But actually, in the 23, wow, he rode well. But they were 10 World Tour guys already in that under 23 race, and that was our young 19-year-old just having a bit of fun. So we've got good dialogue. All right, we think we're a proponent for change. We think we can save our federation and our taxpayers or members money by doing it our way. We think our conversion rate is very high. We would like an ongoing dialogue. Very interested in the World Tour teams. Is it 24 of them? Is it 18 or 19 now of Conti teams? You're probably more up to date than I am. Or is it 20 out of the 24 have got Conti or development teams? Very, very few left. Very few left. I mean, we would like to work with those teams because it's our investment then that's helping. Or give us 10% of your budget and we'll produce even better raw material. And we can do it by working with our track program guys. We want to do a UCI mountain bike women's team next year. I think there's space for that. We'd like to do a UCI Conti women's team, but I'd rather have some instant money for that rather than try and build it, because this energy that I've had for the last 7 years, I wouldn't want to do it again. I'm trying to bring in young people to do the jobs. And I say to you guys, you could have governing bodies, federations, race organisers and teams. The media, you guys are our oxygen and our currency. We cannot do without you guys. So we need you guys more aligned to various teams, and different teams that do matches, more aligned to the federations, more aligned to the big races, because we've got to stop talking about in industry, although it's very interesting. We're going to start talking out of industry. We've got to be, we've got wider discussions to be had around health and well-being. And somebody's asked me what is real success. Real success, I can give you a couple of examples. The first one was when we were a UK elite team. We had a guy that was really good over 20-minute times. So wasn't the racing program in the UK, probably not one in Northern Europe per se. He should have been based in Italy or south of France or whatever. That was his only forte. He rode with us and national races. And he wanted to finish, I think, in the top 20 of one of the races now that we're winning all the time. We gave him that moment. And end of that season, at 21, 22, he said, it's not for me. And unbeknown to me, he had an interview with the Foreign Office. They only take 6 people a year out of, I think, 5,000 applicants. He got straight into the job. I was in tears. I got to stop welling up now. The email said, because of the career that you gave me for this year, learning around sport, how hard it is, I've got a job in the Foreign Office. I can talk to people. I can leave this sport on a high, knowing that you at St. Piran gave us this moment. I've got an amazing job. I'm happy and I'm fulfilled. And that was my first successful moment in this team.
Wow. I mean, that's the reason why we wanted to have you and your team on this podcast, because you're obviously doing things in a different way. And I think our sport is rooted in some history for some reason. Everyone's scared of a change. But on top of everything that you've shared with us, our viewers, and our listeners so far, one thing I wanted to go back on and ask you about is your net zero approach. If you're ever in a bike race, standing on the side of the road, you see motorcycles, a fleet of cars, buses, trucks. There seems to be a lot of carbon dioxide being produced. A lot of maybe lack of recycling, to say the least. It's a very kind of expensive, wasteful sport. But how are you making inroads in trying to be more net zero with the emission standpoint?
Okay, boys, let's ask you a straight question, and you know the answer to this. Why do teams not take on this as a thought process or initiative? Why not?
Because yes, it is expensive. It would have to be restructured, a lot of things. It would be complicated. There would be some sacrifices needed. And in a moment, nobody is willing or ready to do these sacrifices.
You need to be on a podcast, Jens. That was brilliant.
I take it as a compliment. Thank you. You made my day. Fantastic. Thank you, Richard.
So, yeah, the team doesn't want to do it because it costs money. Okay, so we partnered with Exeter University. It's a big university in the Southwest. And look, if you get measured for your carbon footprint is one, that costs a lot of money. I couldn't afford it. I wanted to do it. So I had to find a partner that was willing to do that for me. And it's tens of thousands of pounds to do it properly. And my God, when they do it, the results are shocking. You go, we don't want to be doing it because, oh, that doesn't read very well. And that's why we don't do it in sport. You've got to go, hang on a minute, it's not great news. So we want to talk about net zero, I'll come to that in a minute, and circular economy. That gets avoided. So basically, the circular economy is, are we better off doing up an old diesel car and keep it out of the road because it's already been made, rather than that Tesla that is now going to cost us X amount out of our planet in order to put that in. So we need to talk about net zero and circular economy. We need to bring them both at the same time. And we started to look at what we're doing, and it's horrendous. So, starting at the top, what's the first thing that we could do? Yes, is vehicles. A hybrid vehicle is no use to bike racing at the moment because it's got a 200-mile or 350-kilometre range. So, what happens is if we go to a race, we've got to leave a day earlier because you've got to charge it a couple of times. So your accommodation cost goes up. So we've got some problems around this space. You've got to talk about where they are. We want to partner with a car producer, okay? We could work around the hybrid space, but that we've got to take on more staff, or we've got to find a better one, and an accommodation partner to actually drive down those values. So that's a conversation we're having at the moment, which is you have to have painful conversations in order to get a solution. And guys, what I do have, I partnered with a bottle manufacturer. I should have just put one up. It's not an advert. We partnered with a bottle manufacturer, and I want the UCI to pick it up. It's got a gel inside it. You can put the gel inside and the liquid, so you're not throwing wrappers away. But at the moment, it's in a leisure format. I'd like to share that with people. If there's anybody on the program that wants to try that project through, there's 3 main bottle manufacturers in the world. They know who they are. I'd like to take that to them. It reduces waste at races. Gel wrappers is a thing, right? It's a very, very small thing. And we think we've already got a bottle now where you don't have to throw away the wrapper even in the feed zone. So we've overcome that one. And then what other steps do we want to do? We're collecting all our tires naturally. We're doing all of that. Our clothing is in a contract now, comes back year end. So you can't buy a Bobby or Jens shirt off us or one of our riders, or you sell it on eBay because you've gone on to a new team or whatever else you do. It's got to come back. And we're actually looking at, look, can that filter down to our development teams? You know, how do we feel about sweaty chamois? You know, or whatever. You know, we joke about it, but there is a place for our clothing. There's a place for our tires. There is now a place for our carbon. And this is the big thing, Bobby, what we're going to do. And it's a bombshell's been dropped on my lap in as much as that I put my neck in the noose again. We are taking on the Tour of Britain. So we've got the riders and we've got the staff. We're going to have to pay for extra staff. We're going to take 6 extra staff, one of which is actually coming from the university and doing an audit on the waste that we produce as teams. And I don't believe that any other teams have ever done this on the Tour of Britain. How many towels do we wash? And the results are not going to be great either. But the university said, look, let's look at what you're actually, don't hide it, what you're actually doing. And I'm frightened, but we're having to pay £1,500, bring that person around with us, but we'll have the dialogue. I don't like the answers because none of us want to ask the questions at the moment, but if we ask the questions, we might have a solution. Second thing, coming on that, part of what I've done with this collective, I've set up a collective with other Conti team owners, and let's say we're going to go and ride, let's hope, one of the tours. We do the Olympia tour, which is Tour Holland, or Tour Germany comes back, or wherever. Why are we taking like X number of cars, X number of vehicles, when if we shared vehicles, actually, it's in our interest to reduce them down? Yes, we've got to have team cars in the race, and there's legislation around that, but why take 4 vans when two would do? And we could, but then it's about how they get graphicked up and the image and all the rest of it. But we called those vans the collective, right? And team 1, 2, and 3 are working at it. Bang, we've instantly reduced down our footprint. And guess what? We're not tiring our staff, but we're sharing. It's a bit like sharing is shopping, isn't it? It's not rocket science. So, Bobby, we're looking at more audits, taking more people. We'd love to get cars right. We've got a solution around bottles and wastage. And again, I think it's Hanson, isn't it, who's the rider's representative for safety and stuff like that. I'd like to get something. I tried to drop in a direct message. Look, we've got a bottle that, because basically he's got a filter on it. You can either drink liquid or flick it over to gel. What a great idea. Okay? And it's trademarked, it's patented, and the world can have it because it does do something real. So with Blue Sky Thinking, I don't just want to think about it. Where I can, we'll try and put a hand in the pocket and make a positive change. So what we're doing, Bobby, is all of those things and inviting people in, even if we don't like the answers sometimes. But we've got to be prepared to ask the question in order to find a way forward. It just frightens me for my 3-year-old. That's the generation that's going to say, you guys effed up this planet if we're not careful. And I don't know if you feel it as parents. What do you guys feel?
Oh, I feel it. I think about it every day. I'm 52 years old, or almost 52 years old. My kids are going to be on this planet a lot longer than me. So I think this is something that all sports need to look at. Because there's a lot of things going on in this world right now that are a little bit unexplainable. And it kind of comes back to, the pollution, that we're making, and cycling is an outdoor sport. There is a lot of carbon footprint, if you will. Riders fly to the races. The trucks and buses and vans are more and more and more because these teams are getting so much more specific with their support that they provide for the riders. But I like that idea of, if you're going to the race, instead of sending 3 vans back half full, combine that and save cost and save the carbon footprint. I agree 100%.
I love the fact how you embrace this journey for you. I mean, it's a learning by doing process for you as well, right? Nobody has ever done it. So you just jumped into the water and taught yourself how to swim in the water, right? I'm really impressed of how you go, I know the results not gonna be really pleasant, but we gotta ask the question, and it's a start. And I love the fact how you are realistic about it. We cannot do 100 to 0 within a year. We gotta be logic about it and realistic about it. But you asked all the right question, and you pull a little bit here, a little bit there, and you make it better step by step. I'm fascinated by that. Ricky, it was an absolute pleasure and honor to have you on a podcast. It was so interesting to learn all about the team St. Piran, and we wish you all the best for the future. And hopefully in the future, we will have you back as a guest. Thanks a million one more time for being our guest today.
Thank you, guys. For me, right, I'm a bike fan. Bobby, nearly in tears, Jens. I kept the emotion till the end. Thank you very much for everything you do and for giving us that, that oxygen to spread our little message. Start small, dream big.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week. Huge thanks to Richard for being our guest.
Thanks for listening, and please give us a 5-star review and share us with your friends.
The show was a Velo production in association with Shocked Giraffe, and it was produced this time and edited by Mark Payne.
Remember to check out the video version of this podcast by heading to the Outside Watch YouTube channel. and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Facebook. Just head to Bobby and Jens and please send your cycling stories to us.
Richard had some revolutionary thoughts on how to reform cycling. What changes would you like to see in the sport of cycling?